Jump to the three pack. We got about 8 minutes, so we're going to fly through this. We talk about it all the time. You know, when you're at a networking event, I love to use the word shrink the room, especially for those of you that are introverts and get really intimidated by walking into a room with a large crowd. I think that we feel like we got to hand out, I got to have a stack of 100 business cards, and I got to meet every single person in the room. I got to hand every single person in the room a business card. I always maintain those business cards are going to get thrown away.
Totally.
So for me, it's always about, I'm going to this event. What is my goal for this event? How many people do I want to connect with? And when I mean connect, I would love to walk away with an appointment, but at least I've walked away with a name, phone number, and an email. And so it's not about just connecting with a bunch of people. It's not about business cards. Or I mean, it is about connections. It's not about business cards.
Yeah. So, and Mike, we have for a decade now, we've been talking about this.
I
And
should write a book on this.
well, here's the thing. You can't anticipate that when you go somewhere, there isn't another real estate agent there. And so the question that I have is if you're going to open your mouth in a room and have a conversation about anything, whatever that topic may be, is it attracting people to your conversation, or are you saying, oh, that's just another real estate agent, I don't want to communicate there, let me go over to this conversation over here? And it can be as simple as you talking about private property rights, or you talking about homeownership value matters, not talking specifically about you and or your real estate business. And then through those conversations and to the point of Nick's book, just continuing to ask more and more questions of people, you're going to find the biggest obstacle, Mike, that I've encumbered, and you know me, I love to talk. Here's the thing.
Shut the front door.
I know. Here's the thing. You can actually go down a rabbit hole that turns everybody off in the conversation. So you have to be very, very, very careful of that.
Well, this is Nick is about, like, I walk into a room with 100 people. I mean, having the right real estate conversations is completely different. And I agree with you. I mean, you're going to be boring. Don't go.
Yeah. Well, I think knowing the demographic of the room that you're in. So who's in the room? What is the purpose of the meeting? If you're meeting with a whole bunch of people that are already in real estate, that's a different conversation than if you're meeting with a whole bunch of potential clients. And then again, you're trying to get one-on-one time so that they remember your name, your face, and hopefully you get their information to get them in your mobile app.
All right. So follow up quickly. We always use the phrase speed the lead. Yep. You need, if you've gotten somebody's contact, you need to reach out within 48 hours. I would say even sooner than that, even if it's a quick that evening or an hour later with a follow-up text, but reference your conversation, offer value before asking for anything. And that's just the thing, when we're meeting people, it's not about take. It's always about figuring out how can I give back or help this person, and then obviously add your notes to your CRM ASAP.
Yeah. Coming with contribution, giving an item of
there's
value,
good term. Yeah.
Knowing that you're helping people. Sometimes you'll find that you aren't able, just maybe because someone's got an interesting topic, you aren't able to even introduce the conversation you wanted to have with a particular person, but you found the conversation that you were in intriguing. Sometimes you can make an appointment with that person. Now, granted, it's not necessarily real estate conversation yet, but you can make a conversation. You can make an appointment with someone to have a deeper conversation about what they were talking about, which then allows you a second opportunity to have a deeper real estate conversation.
Yeah, and I think, Nick, the speed to lead also really revolves around what was that conversation like. I mean, if that conversation's like, you've generated a deliverable for this person, or this person is excited about that next step, 48 hours might be a little too long.
Yeah, I mean, again, a couple different things. If you say you're going to do something during the conversation, you want to deliver that ASAP. You don't want to follow up with your first touch point being, hey, I know we talked about me doing this. Do you still want that? That's a close-ended conversation. That's a yes or no. You don't want to do that. You want to assume that they want it. So then your first text is going to be, great conversation tonight. Per our conversation, I'm going to provide you with X, Y, and Z. I will be by tomorrow to drop it off, or I will have it with you to tomorrow. So they're already expecting you to reach out to them again. So that's a second touch point that you have with that person, but open-ended questions as soon as you can.
Yeah, Todd, if you don't deliver on your deliverables,
Yeah.
you've already let them know what type of service that they're going to receive.
Actions speak louder than words. And those are exactly the same scenarios of what you might have all the best answers in the world, but you fall short. And as a result, they use someone else.
Yep.
All right. And then again, it's creating connections and not contacts. Like to your point, Nick, as far as the book review, always ask more questions than you ask. Listen to understand. And this is the thing: listen to understand and not to respond. And I am so guilty of this. When I'm in a conversation with someone, I'm already formulating my response or what's the next thing that I'm going to say. And when I'm doing that, I am not fully listening and comprehending what that other person says, because what that other person says is can oftentimes give me the roadmap. They're going to share what their problems are or what their struggles are. And so when I'm listening to comprehend, I am listening to trying to figure out, and I'm not great at it, but trying to figure out, okay, where is the problem in here that I can solve as a real estate expert? And so it's asking a lot of questions, but it's not enough to ask a ton of questions if you're not listening closely to the answers, because oftentimes you'll get done talking with someone about, we do this all the time. You're talking with someone what kind of home that they're looking for, right? But you're not really listening to the pain points. And the next thing you know, you set up the search and they're like, what is this search? This is not what we're looking for.
Yeah, I think the big thing here is to listen to understand, not to respond. This is the number one thing that prevents salespeople from being successful. People hear sales pitches coming across all day long now, everything from TikTok to, to just somebody having a conversation with. You can feel the funnel coming. You're in the system. And that's not comfortable. You maybe don't want to be at that particular point. But if you're the person who really wants, and we've said this, so you're at a listing appointment, you're brand new. What do? Well, the same thing you do when you're super experienced. You ask more questions than of those people than you talk. The more you talk, the more you lose. But that person will eventually give you, to Mike's term, the roadmap on they're going to come to the self-realization that you're there to help them because you're asking the right questions and you're listening.
Right.
I wasn't listening.
I know. I was like, this is back to timeshare presentations. This is what they do. But they are the questions that they ask, Nick, are so specific to trying to identify how their product is going to meet whatever challenge you are. And so I want to walk into a timeshare presentation one time and they're going to be like, you like to travel? I'm like, nope, hate it. I want to see what they say.
They're not going to ask you a close-ended question like that. They're not going to ask if you like to travel. They're going to get you to start opening up about how you're going to solve a problem about needing to travel and needing this discount on a place to stay for a week. And then if you buy 2 weeks, you can then sub-rent your second week. And then your first week becomes actually free. So by them selling this to you, they're solving your problem for you. And now you're fighting with them to get the pen on the piece of paper as fast as you possibly can.
Yeah, but then maybe you're just not the right caliber for this. You're kind of probably the person that just, this wouldn't have any value to you whatsoever. So you're just here for the prizes, right?
Which is the other reason why I'd recommend you listen to that or read that book, because it provides you insight into some of the tactics people are using against us.
We need to find somebody like somebody who's used to train timeshare agents and have them come in.
We actually have a couple of people here at West USA that I've had conversations with, and that was where they came from.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's our 3-pack for the day. And